If you were to have asked me 10 years ago, hey Neil, do you have a birthday tradition you celebrate every year? I would have laughed in your face and I would have made some cynical comments about how birthdays are nothing more than a conspiracy theory made up by greeting card companies to exploit us and take our money and boost their profits. Uh, and then I would have maybe laid out a very subtle and sarcastic joke, highlighting the fact and the irony that even though we celebrate birthdays each year, inevitably, we are just averting our attention from the fact that each birthday we celebrate brings us 1 year closer to our journey's end. But you're not asking me 10 years ago, you're asking me today. And I do, in fact, have a birthday tradition. And this is the story of how that birthday tradition began. If you don't feel like watching this whole video, here's the gist. Each year on my birthday, I wake up early, I eat a steak breakfast. Not just a normal steak breakfast, I ate 1 ounce of meat for every year that I am celebrating. Yeah, much like many of my friends' kids, steak breakfast, it wasn't planned. It was an impromptu, spur-of-the-moment decision fueled by toxins in my bloodstream or whatever poor decisions I had made from the night before. At the time, I was finishing up my first year in Oregon, and I had just settled into the life that's really only suitable for someone in their mid-20s. I was working late, I was drinking late, I was getting home late, I was sleeping in late, and then I just wake up and do it all over again. The night before my birthday was no different, and I was just ready to repeat the cycle. But instead of sleeping in that day, I woke up super fucking early. I woke up at 4:46 a.m. What I remember most about that morning, besides the time, is just I woke up so clear-headed and full of energy, which is the exact opposite of what somebody who did what I did the night before should have felt like. You know, after sitting up and took a look around just to make sure I was actually awake and not in some weird lucid dream, and then it just hit me, just like that gut-wrenching sensation where it feels like your stomach is eating itself. I call it the hunger pangs. And in that moment, I knew I needed to get something to eat, and I thought I need a fucking steak. When you wake up before 5 a.m. on a Tuesday, there's not a lot of options to go out and get steak. I could go to the only grocery store that was open at the time, Winco. At this point, I had lived in Oregon for like 9 months now, and I hadn't been to a Winco, but I thought, why not? Let's just roll with the punches. Going to Winco, I didn't really know what to expect. It was overloaded. There was just a hodgepodge of stuff, and I'm just like navigating through these, what seemed to be these endless aisles of just chips and crackers and snacks. And I remember thinking, like, there's a lot of ramen noodles here. Oh my God, I've never seen so many ramen noodles in one place. Just crazy. And I'm still just wandering around, and finally I just see it up on the wall, big red letters in this white vinyl backdrop, and it just says meat. And just at the corner of my eye, I see kind of wedged up in the corner 2 13-ounce ribeyes. It was 26 ounces of steak. You know, I didn't realize it at the time, but that pack of steaks was going to set this tradition in motion. I hit the self-checkout because I just didn't want to talk to anyone at 5 a.m. and try to explain why I'm buying a steak. And I left. It took off. So I head home, and I just went right into the kitchen to cook up the steaks. I remember that first bite, and it was almost like it was too much effort for not enough meat. And I took that first bite, and I realized exactly what had happened. I had gotten some really poor quality meat. It was like chewed bubble gum and wet cardboard had a baby, stringy but soggy, and just the texture. I was so limp in my mouth, it left a lot to be desired. And I mean, just to sum it up, it was awful. You know, I'm not one to waste food, so I powered through this meal, and I just thought to myself, what a stupid way to start your birthday. We fast forward about a year, and a friend of mine asks if I have any upcoming plans for my birthday. And at the time, I did not. I wasn't planning on doing anything wild. Probably just sitting in my underwear playing video games. I don't know. And he makes this joke. He goes, "You should do another steak for breakfast. And this time you should do 27 ounces of steak." And at first I was hesitant, but it took me about 15 seconds to go along with it. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And we just paused. We kind of chuckled for a second. And then he looked me right in the eyes and he said, "Can I come over and watch?" How? It took me a moment to think about that. I said, that's fine, as long as it's not like a sexual thing or anything of that nature, which he promised it wasn't. And so now the next week, he's in my house. It's 7 a.m. We're cooking steak for breakfast, and we're just having a good time. I ate the whole thing. He just sat there and watched. This year was a lot more enjoyable. I'm not sure if it was the company or the fact that we just got a higher quality cut of meat. But either way, it was definitely a solidifying moment. I knew that this was something I could see myself doing every year. Over the next few years, word kind of spread about this tradition. And while most people congratulated me, albeit probably sarcastically or secretly judging, some were really interested and they wanted to come over and participate. I began to really get interested in steaks, different cuts, cooking techniques, quality of steak improved. And friends from all over parts of Oregon and even friends from out of state come and join me for this. Before I knew it, steak breakfast was the hottest event of the year in my social circle. More and more people started to come. From 2016 to 2019, steak breakfast was the rage. And after 2019, I really just started thinking about the ways to make steak breakfast 2020 as epic as possible.
There's currently no vaccine outbreak. The whole economy is being rocked by the
Do you remember 2020? What a wild time that was. Maybe you're watching this like years from now and you weren't around for 2020. Do me a favor, Google it. Or do whatever the Google equivalent is in the future. 2020 was rough, for sure. I think the thing that was the most difficult was the fact that we couldn't have a steak celebration. No steak breakfast. That really sucked. At one point, I was thinking of throwing in the towel. My wife convinced me to do it anyway. And she said that she would join me and it would just be us two. And because my wife's the smartest person I know, I took her advice. I carried on, I persevered, and then done cooking the steaks, sat at my dining room table by myself. I snapped a single photo to send to my friends who could not join us and let them know how much they were missed. But on the bright side, cleanup was a breeze. Cleaning up for 2 people is a lot easier than cleaning up for 12. So maybe COVID wasn't the worst thing to happen. After that, 2021 came, right? And then next thing I know, it's almost time for steak breakfast again. The atmosphere around COVID was still lingering. People were still hesitant. Didn't really want to go get in big group. Coming off of what we did last year, my wife and I still decided to do our own breakfast. And this year we've had to splurge and really just treat ourselves. I got my hands on some Japanese A5 Wagyu. The steak came with its own certificate of authenticity. 2022, a lot like 2020 and 2021. We continued steak breakfast. It was low key, just my wife and myself. Well, it wasn't necessarily my wife and myself. It was the 2 of us and our soon to be born baby. Yeah, my wife was 7.5 months pregnant, which made it a little difficult because she wasn't able to really eat steak for breakfast. So I had to do what good husbands and true heroes do and eat my portion and then eat her portion. But it was for a good cause. Not all heroes wear capes. Uh, 2023 marked the 10-year anniversary. This year, I really wanted to get back into the swing of things. We had the baby. She was here, ready to party. I decided to open our doors again, this time just for family. I made a special invitation. I had our guest list already planned out, and it was going to be great. Everything was coming together until about 3 days before the birthday. And this flu bug came through our house. I'll spare you the details in case you're like eating a steak right now while you watch this, but it was nasty. It broke my heart to do so, but we had to cancel. I still had every intention on doing steak breakfast. There's no way I was going to miss out on the 10th anniversary of this, especially now that I have a little one there to share. The day before the breakfast, I was feeling good, made my way to my favorite butcher shop. I ended up with a local A3 Wagyu, and I got this tomahawk ribeye, real big showpiece. Got that huge bone in there. Got them back to my house, started to prep them, get them ready to cook the next day. As the tradition stands, I got up early on my birthday, and then I got to cooking. I knew how I wanted to cook these steaks. Been thinking about it for a little while, and we're gonna sear both those steaks off in some beef tallow. Steak breakfast isn't about being healthy. It's about being tasty. Once I finished all that, I started cutting into the meat. It was just like slicing through butter. They were so tender. The aromas filled the house. Mouth was watering. I had to take a bite, maybe 2, maybe 3, and cut these up and plated them. And, in this moment, the culmination of 10 years of these breakfasts, the journey I've had, the memories I've made, sharing this breakfast with my wife, with my daughter. It's been such a ride, such a great way to finish out 10 years of this tradition. If you're at home, you're doing the math, you're thinking about the future, you say, well, if you keep doing this, one day you're going to turn 50, you're going to eat 50 ounces of steak for breakfast. How the hell are you going to do that? The answer is, I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to do that. I think that would be badass. There's a bigger part of me, though, that knows I need to be responsible. Cut back a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of it. Make sure I can have some more birthday traditions to share with my little one and watch her develop her own traditions. So I think we're going to keep steak breakfast going. Who knows? Steak breakfast has evolved so much over the last 10 years. Maybe it'll take another turn and evolve into something completely different. I'm excited to see where it goes. And as we end this video, I really do. I want to take a moment to thank you to those who are watching, those who have joined me over the years, and those of you who may, join us for a future steak breakfast. I wouldn't be here making this video without you, and I'm truly grateful for the memories that we created along the way. You're all part of the journey, so cheers to you.